this city, but we built this studio, and right now we're up here on the mezzanine level, and the doctor is making a couch call. It's Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Fox News analyst, and he's got a brand new book. It's called Why We Fight, Defeating America's Enemies with No Apologies. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but first, Dr. Gorka, let's talk a little bit about the Kavanaugh confirmation and the ceremonial swearing in last night. What did you make of the tone of the president and Mr. Kavanaugh?
I'm just very grateful that the president did what had to be done. A good man, a godly man, was attacked, was impugned, and the president stood up there and he declared him innocent. So it was the right thing to do.
Is it worth the fight? Because we're seeing how Republicans are now being treated. You can't go to a restaurant anymore. They're putting out your personal information, your addresses, sending sending videos.
It's absolutely worth it. If 1776 was worth it, then this is worth it. In my book, Why We Fight, I talk about the fact this isn't the first time they've done it. People are shocked at what the Democrats did, the dirty tricks, the lies. Well, guess what? They've been doing it for decades. There's a man called Whittaker Chambers. In 1948, the first televised congressional testimony stood up to tell the truth about Soviet penetration of the U.S. government. What did the left do? They accused him of having an affair, of being a homosexual, of being responsible for his brother's death. All of it lies. That's 1948. That's years before Justice Kavanaugh was even born. So this is a pattern, and we've always got to resist the lies.
Here is Elie Mystal last night. Let's listen.
The thing about making a deal with the devil is that the devil backs up his bargain, all right? The devil does not welch. Trump has delivered for these people on the things that they care about most. He has delivered racism for these people. He has delivered misogyny for these people. And now he's delivered the Supreme Court for these people, which is something that they've been trying to get for a generation. We're going to see if this reign that they now have control over all three branches of government, we're going to see if this reign lasts for 30 days or 2 years or a 1,000-year Reich.
Is that the view you have on this administration?
I don't know who this person is. We're used to the crazies, but that's an insult. That's an insult to people like my parents who lived under Nazi occupation. My parents were children when the Nazis took over Hungary. You know what that's an insult to? That's an insult to the 10 million plus Americans who were GIs, who fought fascism, many of whom died. It's unconscionable.
A fascist country wouldn't let him say that.
Yeah, right. If Donald Trump were the great dictator that they paint him to be, this person would be locked up.
Yeah, it would
it's
be
fantasy.
90% for him instead of 90%
against him. Exactly right, Brian.
How dangerous is that kind of rhetoric?
Well, look, there is only one party that has normalized violence in America in the last 2 years, and it's not the Republicans. Let's remember, James Hodgkinson did not wear a MAGA hat when he went to that baseball field in Arlington. He was a Bernie Sanders supporter, went there with an automatic rifle and a pistol with a hit list of what? Republican congressmen, and he almost killed one of them, Steve Scalise. You look at the violence of Antifa, they go prepared for battle to those demonstrations. The right doesn't do that. You're normalizing something that is un-American.
Let's talk a little bit about your book, Why We Fight, Defeating America's Enemies with No Apologies. You start with Sun Tzu.
I do. Yeah, look, there's two great masters of strategy, Sun Tzu from China, almost 3,000 years ago, and then Clausewitz, who wrote the art, Sun Tzu was the art of war, Clausewitz wrote On War. If you know those two people, you can defeat any enemy, and the president has an instinct for this stuff. So Sun Tzu used this power, the strength of your enemy against them. Nothing's changed in warfare or politics for thousands of years.
You're saying Donald Trump understands the...
Oh, yes, he understands it. Look at what he's done. He makes a statement, people go crazy, especially on the left, and what happens? A few weeks later, a few months later, it turns out to be what? True. They wiretapped my campaign. Everybody said, no, look, what are you talking about, wiretap your campaign? We find out. FISA warrant illegally issued with the exculpatory information kept from the docket, and now we have the whole house of cards collapsing. So I have rarely met a man who is as instinctually strategic as Donald Trump, and that's why ISIS, who talks about ISIS? Who's talking about war on the Korean Peninsula? Who's talking about Russia invading its neighbors? Nobody since Donald Trump became commander-in-chief.
Right now in the crosshairs, China.
China's the number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my book, I talk about all the threats. I talk about jihadis. I talk about China, talk about Russia. There's only one strategic one, and it is Beijing, because they want to replace America, and they have a plan, but Donald Trump knows it.
Sebastian,
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Dr. Gorka. Congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
book.
Why we fight.